daylight savings time recently? Fuck. Wow.
Daylight savings time?
I, I think we're early or are we late? Ish.
We're always late.
Hey no, hey, it's a family show. Uh
That
IRP
wasn't that wasn't dirty.
IRP 205. Um Michael, Vincenzo, Steve, I'm Dave. Um talk about some football tonight. Go back to our fun times. Uh, sort of a halfway report for what our NFL squads are doing, um, and the usual chat amongst you guys and whoever else wants to chime in and there's some topics or whatnot. Tried to get Joe, the good doctor, on here. He said it was too late for him. Want to chat about the expo? At some point we will. Let some of that news cool because I'm sure amongst our like outer circle of group of folks that we commiserate and chat with, and sure that's going to be in rotation in their circle. So figured it's a good point to talk about football right before Thanksgiving again when football is really prevalent here. So you're not alone in that boat there, Jeff.
None of us made it.
Yeah.
To be
Of
fair,
course,
I never intended to. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
of course, I informed everybody quite some time ago that it wasn't happening.
Literally, mine came down to the Sunday before.
Shit happens.
Yep.
Shit happens.
I'm hoping next fall that's going to be the one I spring is not even I don't even consider that an option. The softball season, that's just as unfortunate as that is that yeah, that won't be happening, but
Well, since we're talking foosball, I'll open a little foosball.
some select what year? This year? Last year?
This year, 23.
Mhm.
And then if I'm bored, I may open a little bit of update hanger times 2. Pull some Paul Skeens.
As I say, I hope to find something, but I haven't been to Wally in a while. The boutique hasn't had much of anything, so going on.
The only way, as you know, the only way I get anything is buying it online, anyways. So
Yeah.
I refuse to try and go find stuff in the wild, unless it's with the crew like we did last year in Chicago. That's different.
Spending way too much money at that fucking Target.
Yes, we all did.
We all found out we were impulse buyers.
Yes, but on the flip side, like the main things that were quote unquote needed, we did leave the store with said needed items. Or I should say you left the store with needed items.
Well, that was the Walmart. The Walmart is where we got the cauldron. Target, I don't remember. I remember all I got was like Naomi. She wanted like some weights.
Well, the
Like
fan didn't come from Walmart.
the what?
The fan did not come from Walmart, I don't think.
I don't know. I don't know. Again, there's a lot of traveling that those 4 or 5 days, so 6 days, that it came from a retail outlet of national prominence. So I can't remember. I thought all that stuff was from Walmart. That could be wrong. I don't know.
Hey, research guy, figure out what trip that was. Not that you would be able to figure that out, but I figured I'd put you on task a little bit. You're on mute.
I'm thinking.
I can tell.
I thought there was something for C. I don't remember if there was like a.
Well, because I know I got the Lego set for my kid at Target.
Okay.
I got Ninja Turtles you wanted.
But we all walked away with some sort of pack or box of some sort to open.
Yeah, that was at Target.
Well, I know that's what I was alluding to. But Dave is struggling, and so am I, to remember where we bought the box fan, because I swore it was at Target.
See, I think it was Wally.
Was Wally the first or the second day? Second day.
Are you talking about the first or second day we were there?
Yes. Second day. Wally was the second night. It was the preview night. No, it wasn't.
No, it couldn't have been, because we had to have coffee. Well, I had to have coffee and creamer.
It
and we
had to
to
been the
get
first
milk,
night then.
and
First
had to
night
get
was
milk.
No, first night wasn't, because it was dark out.
We were dark when we went to Walmart.
Well,
'Cause
we
we
were
were-
almost dark when we went to Target, because we had left it's after we had left the show.
Yeah.
But Target was still light. I remember that.
Yeah.
Wally was fucking. It was like 11. Target was, I think, unless it was Friday when we left early,
I don't remember.
or Saturday we might have left early.
No, it was
No,
Friday.
it had to be Friday, because we had
Stuff
the
was there.
Friday. Plus, we had the impromptu.
Yeah.
So I bet you it was Friday. Christ.
Because we didn't open them until Saturday.
No, because Stove was there when we opened. No,
We did not open our stuff
Yeah.
on Friday.
we didn't. That's
We
right.
opened junk trunks.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So Saturday, that's kids, adults, alone. If you don't do videotaping of your national experience, and then you don't write it down in some sort of, like, even just bullet points in like a journal or a little notebook,
This is
this
what
is
happens.
what happens. This is your fucking lesson when you have 3 people.
So
That
the
were
box
with
fan
you.
would have had to have been Walmart then, because like you wouldn't have waited that long.
No, not with the air conditioning sputtering.
And that's why I was trying to figure out, like, where did we go first, and what would we have picked up from each place? Because, like, I know the Target trip, we were going to get cards in order to open, but
Yeah.
all of us ended up getting something else too in the process, of most random nature. But doesn't matter. It's not important. Just trying to figure out so we can, I guess, put it to bed, maybe.
I find it riveting.
That says Michael.
John?
Says, you know what? I gotta go sleep now.
Correction. Mr. President, Denver gave up on Russell Wilson before they needed to. So I had a feeling he was probably going to do better elsewhere. Him and Sean Payton didn't get along. So that is a lot of it. But I still feel as though he's still not 100%. Like I still feel like there's something nagging going on.
That deep ball accuracy is still there, though.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't watched shit this year, so
It's been nice. He hasn't lost that touch. He still throws one of the best deep balls. And I'm not even a fan.
That one to Mike Williams.
Paul,
You know,
watch it, Paul. I will put you in timeout, sir. And don't think I won't.
Poor Jeff Lewis. The old quarterback for the Broncos, that was what, a 96 draft pick.
Shit, I don't remember when that was.
Everybody thought he was going to be something. Didn't work out too well.
Well, like, I'm not going to say the one that Paul's alluding to. Because that wasn't giving up on. That was good riddance. They gave up on Simeon. They gave up on Greasy. Technically, they kind of gave up on Cutler. I know, like, Michael doesn't give a shit because he loved it when he ended up in Chicago and Clay Matthews ate him for lunch.
as did Charles Woodson.
Cutler wasn't bad. He was just too much of a prima donna, whiny bitch. So, like, I get not wanting that type of mentality in the locker room. But, you know, Denver has been prone to give up fairly quickly. There for a while, they were Cleveland when it comes to the revolving door of quarterbacks, or I should say starting quarterbacks. Like they should have kept Teddy as a backup. But what do I know? I'm just an armchair quarterback. No argument from me on that one, John, at all. That's when it kind of started going downhill a little bit. Is after Shanahan called it quits. I don't think I want Paxton Lynch on here either. No, Paul. Dave is not going to help you out. Dave, don't fucking do it. Don't do it.
No, maybe that guy will be in your Christmas package. Make sure to get.
I'll burn it.
Yeah.
He can't be doing this. This isn't vintage and Titus Young. This is
I don't need any more of him. I have my one autograph. I'm good.
I have a number of charred, burnt up customs from old Sicto of Rogers and Favre in my collection in the closet.
I've got that Titus Young that he
Torn half.
He sent that to me.
Awesome.
So where my Titus Young collection is, I don't have a clue. Probably next to my Michael Agnew's.
That would be warehouse 65 row
Yeah.
32 subsection E
Yeah. Subsection F for fucking
for
failure.
failure. Well, that means like that would be all your warehouses, right?
Well, come on now. Let's. There's. I had a couple decent hits, not player collection wise. I mean, Brodeur, but that was well after the fact. Everybody else pretty much not so much. Johnson, I mean, when he was on, he just couldn't keep his arm fucking connected to his body.
I was this close to starting a Matt Latos collection. I loved that guy. But he was another one, just couldn't stay healthy.
That seems to be a growing trend a lot with some of these guys.
Yeah, that.
Bubby played in Denver for
It has a lot to do with
season or two.
Has a lot to do with teams only caring about velocity. They don't care about pitching.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, technically, Jerry Rice ended up in Denver.
Denver, Seattle,
Oakland.
Well, Denver signed him to like a one-day contract so he could actually retire.
Randy Moss even ended up in San Francisco.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't even know if Moss actually played a regular season game with the 49ers. I don't remember. I know he has a beautifully photoshopped 2012 Topps 49ers card.
Well, our research department happens to be away at the moment. But in the meantime, I will fill the gap. Let's see. Stats. Well,
I watched the '94 Rams Niners game the other day. Tommy Maddox had to fucking come in for Chris Miller.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a barn burning situation.
Tommy Maddox, ex-Denver Bronco quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah, another.
So he did have receptions in Tennessee, and he actually had 28 receptions in San Francisco.
Yeah, see, I don't even remember the San Francisco games. I remember the Tennessee games.
Oh, because he looks like he got traded mid-season.
Yep.
Because it shows 13 receptions with Minnesota. Oh, no. Shit. He played for 3 different teams in 2010.
Because he went to Minnesota, he re-signed with Minnesota. They traded him because it didn't work out. And then Tennessee, I think one of the first games he had like an okay game.
So he was still in New England in 2010.
Okay.
And then I'm guessing went to Minnesota.
Okay, yeah.
And then went to Tennessee.
Hmm.
And then San Francisco was actually 2 years later in 2012.
Yes, Tommy Maddox was the XFL MVP.
Him and Rod Smart.
I was going to say him and Rod Smart came out of the old XFL. He hated me.
Yeah, that was about the extent of the successes. I don't remember anyone else.
Nobody that made an impact.
No. I'm sure there's some lineman or some like other slot receiver that did something, but
And Smart played in Carolina, right?
And then Philly.
No.
I took care of your research duties there, Vinny, while you were gone.
I forgot I bought a box of cards open.
Huh.
We were at Meyer, and this was totally over freaking. No, I didn't buy this. I bought this at Dick's Sporting Goods because they said, "See, you're practicing indoors tonight." That was not the truth, and well, she'd have froze her little took us off, so we stopped there and grabbed a sweatshirt and a hoodie,
In a
and
box?
a pair of sweatpants
In a box of Bowman.
and a box of Bowman. So
Good shing
Shing!
yeah,
across
that's
the
how you
room
shing something.
into
You're
the
gonna
wall.
shing it right.
Is that this year's?
2024.
Yeah, we stopped at Dick's in Wausau on the way back from Appleton about a month ago. Right next to their register. God, did they have a ton of shit? But I was like,
That's where it was.
I saw Chad Kelly trying to hold his leg together. It was disgusting.
is that the old Mississippi quarterback? Did he play college there?
I'm not sure where he played college ball.
Screw you.
The season opening.
Since Vinny's opening baseball, I'll open an update.
Who's the person we're supposed to be getting in this? I have no idea.
I don't know. Not for 24. I have no idea.
No idea.
What's going on here? They changed up the way this is configured. Ooh!
You happy? Henry Davis. I like him.
So there you go. That's who you were looking for, Henry Davis. Charlie, what are you doing? This base design is pretty clean, man. And look at this, the third card in.
Paul Skeens. Very nice.
This base design is pretty nice. That's not a bad one either.
Nope. Jackson Merrill, good one.
I was gonna say, like,
Those are two of the three you're looking for.
one of the guys, the one I always say does like the gourmet stuff. I don't know what he bought too, but he's like, his pack was a Skeens debut, a Merrill debut, and then like a Jackson Holiday rookie. And he's like, again, I'd rather have the Skeens regular, but I'm not going to complain too much.
Is Dylan Cruz in the product as well? Or no?
I don't
Think
He'll probably be in Series 1 next year.
I'd imagine so.
This base design is really clean, though, man.
It is. It's one of my favorite years for Topps in a long time.
Well, how about a Jackson Merrill debut in the same hanger?
Where's Filmington when you need him?
Yeah, all I need is holiday.
That's pretty sweet.
Very nice, Dave.
Dominguez rookie.
Somewhere on here it showed.
Jordan Lawler rookie. Then this
What?
guy. Corey Seager.
Huh. That wasn't enthusiastic enough.
Yeah, that was.
Let's go. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
They'll have to check like the logo or the hologram
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what exactly it's from. Because I can't imagine it was again Padres.
Veteran Buffet Day.
Huh?
Veteran Buffet Day.
Nothing's better than Buffet Day.
No,
That's
Nothing.
I would agree.
interesting. That's kind of a pretty
When they closed down our Golden Corral in town, I shed a tear.
pretty insert.
Yeah, I miss buffets. I mean, you still have some of them, but
Most didn't survive COVID.
no,
Correct.
like the Godfather's Pizza. Pizza Hut had one.
Yep.
Again, I like
Pizza
Pizza
Hut's
Ranch
bringing
for
it
that,
back.
I like
Pizza
Pizza Ranch.
for that specific purpose.
Yep.
They don't have Pizza Ranch in Michigan.
No.
So I always get it when I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah, the
How can you
closest.
chicken and mashed potatoes, and then you can eat a bunch of pizza.
Yep. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the closest one to me is up in Independence, up in Kansas City.
Okay. Yeah, we got one in Hibbing, so about hour and 10 minutes away or so. But yeah, that I've got to remember to bring like my.
They also have a Cheddar's up there, and I love to get the Monte Cristo.
Okay.
Basically, it's pretty much if you see a Pizza Ranch, there's a Cheddar's lurking pretty close.
Well, yeah, down there, you guys got a lot of stuff down that way.
We
Always
do.
fun. That whole is it the I-80?
I-70.
I-70.
Yep.
80's in Iowa.
Yeah, 70 runs all the way across the state.
I'm like, yeah, St. Louis, Columbia, KC.
Kansas City. Yep. Lee Summit, Blue Springs, those are big little cities too.
Lee's Summit is where, like, going way back in like the trading card pantheon. I think at the time it was either him. And I don't know if you might remember if Smitty would ever watch. Not Black Jade Rose or whatever, but there was another Eber, Fourth and Inches.
Mm-hmm.
That was another huge like Kansas City fan, or had to have been because they had a lot of fucking low numbered and cool shit. And I remember one of the guys I was good friends with way back in Beckett, and then like when it sort of dissolved, but he was in Lee's Summit, a huge Chiefs fan. I mean, we just sent him as much shit as we could because it's just like I think he had a wife and two step kids from her marriage or whatever it was, and just real again salt of the earth, good person. And fuck, I remember it might have been like 06, 07. And one of my buddies, like two of them actually called. I'm like, okay, what's going on? I called the one back in Illinois, and he said he had a heart attack and fucking died. I'm like,
Jesus.
no shit. But I still remember Lee's Summit just because again, it's not like Pueblo or something where you're like, whatever. It's sort of like Knob Noster or whatever that you say. It sticks with you.
Yeah. Junction right there at 50 and 291 and Lee Summit, right at 50 and 291 at the exit. There's a Quick Trip there. And that was the place we hit up after every concert. We always hit up that Quick Trip on the way home. And if we didn't hit up the Quick Trip, we hit up the Denny's that was just a little further down. But yeah, that was the ritual. Stop at the old Quick Trip. I get 2 hot dogs and put the nacho cheese sauce on them. And then grab a couple Danishes, and that was the best. And then I would eat them and go to sleep for the rest of the ride home.
Sometimes that's the best kind of sleep too.
Oh yeah, it's exactly what you want.
Except if you're the driver.
Yeah. Do you remember Scott Jayhawk? His shop was in Blue Springs, and it's interesting because he closed. He closed. He didn't last, but somebody else has opened up a card shop in that same spot.
Interesting.
I don't know who it is because I haven't stopped, but
So did he close shop or did he sell shop?
I don't know.
The only reason why I was asking because like the shop was Jayhawk something like I'm pretty sure it was his name.
No, it was Pine Tar Sports Cards.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was Pine Tar.
Yeah, because he was Jayhawk 1971.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
Do you know when he closed though? Was it pre-COVID?
I think so.
Yeah, it was pre-COVID.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard because you can only sell so many Royals and Chiefs cards to the same people. Then that's all anybody in that area is going to care about for the most part.
Well, unless
you're not getting a George Brett to 5 patch auto or like let's say not Bobby Witt something or another. I mean, or Salvi. I mean, you got to hit the guys that are hot, and then X amount of people can afford those. I mean, well, logically,
right?
So,
well, then of course, depending on allocation through distribution of new product and everything else, like
that's the big racket.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can still buy shit through like B2B, whether it be through other distributors or other shops in the area and everything else. But if your price point is too high comparative to somewhere else, whether it be, Atlanta Sports Cards, which I think is actually gone, but something of the likes.
Yeah. Well,
you're screwed.
Pre Mahomes, Chiefs cards weren't expensive, and neither were Royals cards.
Very true.
Because George Brett didn't have cards for the longest time, for a lot of years until he started signing with Panini, and now he's signing with Topps again. Yeah, so most of the collectors they're not used to seeing big price tags on their stuff.
Right.
Because Priest Holmes wasn't – most of Priest Holmes' nice stuff was kind of Raven stuff, his rookies. I don't remember him having a ton of Chiefs cards.
No, because I'm
Jamal
sure
Charles did. Jamal Charles did, but Jamal Charles wasn't expensive either. He was kind of mid-tier.
Yeah, there might have been some Leaf Limited, maybe. for Priest,
Yeah.
but I mean, there wasn't like a glut of this stuff.
No, when the autographs and relics really got big with those guys, it was kind of when Larry Johnson started to become really good.
But like you said, it's most of the shit wasn't expensive during the time in which he went into business, and
Mm-mm.
there's
Well, and
only
like-
so much that's going to keep a store open.
And like you were talking with the distributors and stuff, they force feed you $30,000 worth of bullshit if you want anything good.
Yep.
You've got it. You do. You just have to eat shit on all their bad products, and there were a lot of bad Panini products.
Yep. You want this. You also have to order and commit to X of this and X of that. And
Yep. And then it doesn't. And then it gets in the shop and it doesn't move.
also depends on, and this is not a jab on anybody, because like everybody's thoughts of business is different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better to sell shit for a loss than it is to just write it off,
Right.
because you're still bringing in money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's already been spent. The money's
Correct.
already been spent. So get what you can.
Yep. Recoup what you can.
Yep.
And that's hard for a lot of people.
I
would
know
think.
they sell on eBay. It's all the people in breaks.
But yeah, it's one thing to go online, like when Ed Warhol got approval from like distribution to do everything online. That's back when it was a lot easier if you knew the right people and everything else along those lines. You still, your allocations were smaller. Your profit margins were smaller because you had to be competitive with other larger businesses who could sell shit for cheaper because they got higher allocation.
And, well, it's
But
just
nowadays
it was Firehand. You had to compete with Firehand.
Yep.
You had to compete with Chad.
And nowadays, like, I don't think you can get approval through distribution for just an online presence.
No, you had to have brick and mortar shop.
Now, I know Breakers, but that's a different agreement.
Yeah. And they're pretty much running the hobby right now.
Yep. And I'm willing to bet that they still have to procure X amount and still potentially get dumped garbage at the same time. But like, it's not the same for a brick and mortar. Like brick and mortar, I think gets thrown more garbage.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Which doesn't make any sense. But, what do we know?
I know nothing. I know that there's a lot of partnerships and everything between the big companies and like the streaming apps like Whatnot. I've never even been on Whatnot.
I haven't even.
I know it's, from what I hear, it's a giant cesspool. It's a lot of people ripping a lot of people off.
Well, there's definitely more, I don't want to say negativity, but there's definitely a lot of shit that happens on Whatnot than what we were ever used to back in our heyday. But then again, it's a money grab. It's a power grab because the hobby is still, the prices are still higher than what they were in our heyday. Mm-hmm. And people are looking to make a quick buck. But cheating people and scamming people is not the way to go about that, because at some point you're done.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the football took a big hit the last couple of years because the quarterback classes have not panned out. So, and the quarterbacks, I mean, we all know that drives all of it.
Yep.
This year, Jaden Daniels is making everything go right now, but none of the other guys are moving the needle.
No, and when you have even with Caleb and his popularity in college, you look at the box score of a fucking Bears game, and he's 13 for 31 and 120 yards, and like, man, that ain't getting it done.
I think
I mean,
they
yeah,
talked. I think somebody was talking about the stat. It was a Bears guy. I think it was Dan Katz. He was talking about him today, and he was just running down the stats from this past weekend's game. Like, I think I feel like one of their longest drives was like 21 yards. Their biggest play was like 12.
That's somebody I saw somewhere. I don't know if it's like the YouTube where you see like the posts or whatever.
Mhm.
It had like the field, and it had nothing really beyond 10 yards for like completions. Like, there's a big you've got 3 quality receivers. You've got a very good tight end. Swift out of the backfield is solid.
Yeah.
And how the fuck are you not utilizing any of the talent vertically at all?
Did you read any of the stuff that came out today?
I know Waldron's done.
Along with that, the veterans were asking that guy to be gone, and they were asking for the backup to be the quarterback. Isn't it Bagent is his name?
Oh yeah, the one that was like the undrafted Division III, played against the Chargers, I think, last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the veterans were asking him to bench Williams for him.
And people say, well, that's not good for the confidence. Well, neither's trotting them out there getting fucking schmucked and looking like that's the first time you've ever played the fucking position.
Yeah.
It's just like, just put him out there.
That's what he looked like against any decent competition when he was in college. He looked terrible. I mean, I was thrilled when they drafted him because I'm like, he's not good. Nor was Fields.
No, it's literally you're getting drafted because of like 1 or 2 moments.
Yeah.
And that it just I don't understand that.
It doesn't work because you have to be consistently really good in college for it to translate to the NFL, because the worst team in the NFL is gonna be better than anybody you played in college. So if you can't light up bad teams in college, you just don't have a shot in the NFL.
No. No, the last year's draft. Again, there's glimpses of Drake May. Glimpses for Bo. Penix, obviously, jury is going to be out until Cousins leaves.
Yeah.
And that might be next year. Who knows if somebody ponies up, because, again, Jets are going to be back to square one, because that is an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah, it needs to be burnt down. I mean, even their defense isn't good. And that was their calling card.
It needs to be a full reset there, because put Rodgers back in his fucking chamber of isolation, or whatever the fuck it is, and put all them fucking Green Bay receivers with him, and whatever other people he's that Hackett, he can go too. Anybody from those people, as soon as they get shit canned from the Jets, Adams still probably will have a career. Lazard, maybe. Anyone else?
I don't think Lazard will.
I mean, it's going to be somebody that's like, this guy just went down with an ACL. That guy's out for 6 weeks with a
Yeah.
string or something. It's going to be, you're going to have to fucking prove it. And if you don't, go coach Iowa State, do something down there again. But it just, they are unwatchable.
Yep.
Absolutely unwatchable. And that was the worst part about missing the fantasy draft for the money league. My first pick was Brees Hall. I'm like, that is fucking trash.
Yep.
And I would have never in any lifetime picked him in the first round or any other running back unless.
Yeah.
And that was Derrick Henry would have been second round. But I mean, it AP back in the day, Falk back in the day, but it was a different league back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's no running back I'm looking at number 9. When
No, it's all about wide receivers.
Our league's quarterbacks. If you don't have a fucking good quarterback,
Yeah.
with the point system, it's you're toast because the guy played this week I don't know if he's sick, he's got a family emergency, he died, who knows. He had Zerline in his kicker, and he had Caleb Williams starting, and Joe Burrow on his bench.
Oh my gosh.
So I won the game, but I should have been cooked right over the bill.
Yeah.
So it's happened to me before, not because of stupidity like that, but just the matchup went haywire.
Yeah. Everybody that stacked Burrow and Chase, I mean, they won on Thursday. Their matchup was over for the week.
I know it. I had Lamar in one league starting, and the guy had Baltimore's defense against me, so I was up by 35 because Baltimore got negative points.
Right.
I'm like, that's a win.
Yep.
And I wish I had quarterbacks in that league in my league that I've got in that league, because that's the only one I drafted. And I drafted, I think, Lamar in the third and Jalen Hurts Hurts in the third, Lamar in the fifth.
Wow.
So he's still there. I'm like, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
You fools are.
He's what, like 24-2 touchdowns and interceptions this year? It's something crazy.
And the rush yards are still there. And
yep. And you got Derrick Henry leading the world in yards.
And I missed him coming back with one pick.
How does Dallas fuck that up so bad? Derrick Henry was there for you.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should bring back Zeke Elliott. Oh.
Jerry Jones at some point had to have sold his soul to the devil, and I mean now he's reaping what he had sowed back then, because it's.
Yeah. Well, it's because Jerry thinks he knows football, and Jerry don't know shit, and it's been proven time and time again
for 3 decades.
Yep.
He's the Vince McMahon of football.
Yeah. Did you watch that Netflix doc? Me and the wife watched it on Friday.
I think we watched. Tristan and I watched 3 of them, 2 or 3, like about a month ago when it came out, and then I think last weekend we finished it up. I don't know if it was this weekend or last weekend, but I'm like, we got to finish that. She's like, well, it's limited. I'm like, well, it is, but they're getting what they want out of it, so it's not going to go away anytime soon. This isn't like a Tubi movie that's like, okay, end of the month, it's on some other free streaming platform.
It'll be on there for quite some time.
Yeah. So
are you telling me I should watch it?
For sure.
It's worth it.
Yeah, Alicia and I we watch so many things. She likes watching those it's not the 30 for 30s that are on Netflix. It's something else. And I'm just blanking on what they are, but they're just different sporting things. And it'll be like a 2 or 3, little series of it. Maybe even some of them are only 1 episode. But she's not even a sports person, but she loves watching those things. She finds them super interesting. And I believe once McMahon's legal stuff runs the course, there's going to be follow-ups.
If he doesn't die first.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance of that.
What's his name? Cornette said that, and again, I've got to look for the news because I haven't heard it. Something about he wants to start up something on his own.
Yes, I read that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I need to do some digging because this is interesting.
Yeah.
And I can see with recent events and political stuff aside, but I know how he's lined up with particular politicians because his wife was like a cabinet member, something for the recently elected or re-elected participant.
She was over small businesses or whatever.
Yeah, I can see him finagling in there because that's, there's got to be a lot of funds going for.
He's going to have to pull it all out of his own pocket.
Well, after that stock shit, he sold all that stock, and that was a ton of money he got out of that.
Yeah. It'll just be whether or not he can get it spent before the courts say he has to give it to somebody else.
I want to grow the little mustache, the Hitler mustache that he had, or whatever the.
Those eyebrows were very distracting.
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
He looks like the villain from like one of the you tie the lady up and put her on the railroad track and you fucking her sitting in the tree line and
yeah.
I mean he
Rocky and Bullwinkle stuff.
Yeah. It is.
Snidely, was that his name?
Snidely Whiplash was one of them, and then Boris Badenov was the one.
Boris and Natasha.
So he just looks the part, and I'm like, you ever heard anything about Vince McMahon? It's like, that fits him to a T or a V.
Yeah. Yeah, like multiple people said, I've known him for 40, 50 years, and I don't know if I actually know him.
Yeah, and these are the people that are like closest to him. These aren't just like, hey, here's Kofi Kingston talking about it, or here's fucking.
No, it's Hogan and Undertaker, and they're like, do we actually know him?
Bruce Pritchard, who is Brother Love, he's been around for fucking ever. He's been Vince's right-hand man.
There was a lot of Tony Atlas in there, too.
Yeah, but he was one that I think was just more of a talent. But that was shocking how good he was.
Yeah, he was probably my favorite to hear talk.
Yep.
During the whole thing, because he wasn't pulling any punches, or it was definitely not. He didn't think in advance of what he was going to say. He answered honestly.
There's no politically correct answers in his book.
None whatsoever.
So, but yeah, when Pritchard near the end, I won't give it away, but yeah, when he's all pissing and moaning and that's your portrayal, and I'm like, dude, you are trying to save face. I know that. That is all you're trying to do. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, if you enjoyed wrestling at any point last 30 years, 40 years, and of Vince McMahon, I mean it's worth your time.
Yep. And somebody who only paid attention to wrestling way out of the peripheral. I didn't follow much. There were guys that I liked, but I I did not watch a ton of wrestling, but I really enjoyed hearing from Shane McMahon. I was like, I remember whenever he was a part of the wrestling and doing all that stuff, and I only saw it here and there, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, man, what a douche! It's just the boss's kid out there wrestling. Watching that documentary totally changed my mind on that. He didn't get a, well, maybe he does. Maybe he does get enough credit, and I just don't know about it. But I liked him a lot. He seemed to be the only one with any kind of redeeming qualities in that whole family.
Yeah,
Oh,
Steph doesn't.
he's still a douche.
Maybe,
But not as big as he could be. If he was like the Mean Street Posse Shane, like all the time, like I'm from Greenwich, I'm this, I'm that. He's more down to earth. Again, not like somebody like Little House in the Prairie type down to earth, but I mean he for the amount of money and where he came from, that's a pretty solid foundation of being down to earth comparative
and you
to
can tell he's a smart. He's a smart guy. He's not an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, he's made some of his money on his own, but his name has helped though.
Well, yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and it always will. But I just feel like Stephanie and Triple H, I think they enabled all of it a lot. They can't play dumb and don't know that anything was going on.
And that's what most people think. It's like, you were in the fucking locker room for how long? You weren't sectioned off like Hogan used to be in the 80s and reading your fucking like thesaurus for promos and reading some Edgar Allan Poe or like Robert Frost or something to get like ideas. It's like, no, you fucking knew. You're in DX. You're humping a dead corpse. You're fucking like Shawn Michaels' ass was out every fucking episode of Raw. Like, you were telling chicks, like they said, show your tits. It's like,
yeah,
you weren't going to church 3 times a fucking week. Don't give us that shit.
No.
It's like, I know you've been hanging around Vince a lot and you want to have revisionist history, but at least he said too that like a lot of that stuff did not age well. Like, you are correct, sir. You're very correct. But
in the moment, in the time,
oh god, it was gold.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer, South Park, fucking just like sex selling on MTV. It's like, yeah, that's if it's moving the needle.
And then how incestuous it all was with them and WCW and all that stuff.
Who can do something stupid? It's like, well, WWF, because McMahon's in charge and you have to answer to him. And yeah, they had the one woman from USA Network on there, but it's like, well, if you're getting the ratings,
and
pretty tough to say, don't do that when you're getting the fucking highest ratings on the network.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely like I said, it was a fun watch. We really liked it.
Well, after I finish watching Sons of Anarchy, I'll have to go watch the documentary.
There you go. Sons is one I need to rewatch. I watched it when it was on the air.
Well, so did I like I had seen all the way up through season 6 and I was recording season 7 and the DVR got corrupted. And of course, all the episodes like got wiped off the DVR. So like I gave up on it because at the time, the only place you could go watch it was Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there was like free streaming apps and stuff that you could kind of find here and there, but I was like, I didn't want to watch it on my laptop. I wanted to watch it on the TV. So since we've canceled cable and now all we have is streaming apps, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and freaking rewatch this from the very beginning and finally finish this fucking series. So I'm almost through episode 1 of season 7. And it's amazing. Like, I remember a lot of shit as it happened, but it's one of those in which you can't sit there and like pick up season 7 and expect to remember everything that transpired, because if you've missed anything, you lose a lot of context.
Yep.
A ton of context. So
Yeah, it's one I'm going to go back and rewatch.
it's freaking fantastic, man.
Oh, no, it's a great show.
That is one of the few
I think it might be
shows.
I think it's one of the few FX shows that I haven't rewatched already. I've watched Justified a ton of times. I've watched The Shield 3 times, I believe. I watched Nip Tuck twice. But Sons is one I've only watched the one time.
Well, freaking Kurt Sutter, from a writing perspective, like that show, so many shows nowadays, it's like you can almost figure out what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sons of Anarchy is one in which like you have no fucking clue. Like it could go 15 different directions, and one of them may be that direction, but then other times you're like, okay, yeah, I did not expect to see that happen.
Well, that's why Game of Thrones was so great until the last season when it was rushed. It was because it didn't matter if you're a main character or not, they'll fucking kill you.
Yeah. Well, and I plan on watching the Mayans just to see what it's about. So that's next on the agenda, so to speak, from a series perspective, because I'm curious to see how, like, if they've embedded it somehow or have, I don't want to say flashbacks to Sons and everything else. So like, don't give me any information, Paul. It is next on the list because I am curious. Yeah. To each their own, I guess. I haven't watched the Mayans. I never started watching it, so I have nothing to compare it to yet.
And that was something too that I know Trist is always jumping into some new series or something, and I'm like, we watched the first 2 seasons of You.
Of what?
You.
Oh, okay.
It's on Netflix. And then, oh my god, I fucking forget it every time. But it wasn't a bad series. It just, like that, the initial, like, starting to roll down the hill, it took forever. It was with, and I've said it on here, I'm sure at least 3-4 times, with Bill Pullman.
Okay.
And he's like an old, like, detective, like, caseworker type situation where he gets like this read on people, and it was a good show, but I like that first 2 episodes, it was just like, oh please, something happen, because it's like I can see where they want to go, but you're really churning a lot of dialogue out, and it's like, now let's get to something. But she's always like, I'm watching this, I'm watching that. I'm like,
Well, so the 2 more recent series Bill Pullman was in is The Sinner, and then there's the Murdaugh Murders.
no, that wasn't it.
Everything else is
old.
Pre-2017.
God.
Because that looks like a movie. That looks like a movie. Because like a lot of these look like movies. Torchwood looks like another series.
I can picture because he's like a. Trying to remember the first season was somebody Christmas Christ, what was it? Somebody getting killed at a beach. It was like the opening scene. I don't know if it was like a younger kid killing someone and then being like not a mental hospital, but some sort of like housing for folks that have some mental issues. And then the next season was God, somebody going out on almost like a Lake Superior, but it was up like in Maine on the coast, like a coastal town and shit going there. We see.
I said that. That was the first thing I said.
I thought you said the center.
No, Sinner.
Yes, that is. If you're gonna do, if you can get through that first episode or so, yes. See, Eric coming in with some pertinent information, useful information.
Well, I had it right the first time. You just misheard me.
So, but yeah, that is a it does move slow in moments, but again, that's stuff I like a lot of psychological stuff and a lot of stuff where you like I can see it's heading down this path to this
Well, that's how Sons of Anarchy is, though.
See, I don't want to. I got my one. I got my one psychological. I don't want to have 43 of them.
I know, but I'm just like it makes you fucking think.
I know. I like that a lot of the time, but there's a lot of the time too where I'm like, you know what I want to watch? Put on some old
Nothing.
fucking Tom Green episodes and let me see like the Serial Carpins on like the fucking what is it called? The cruise that he was on. It's like the spring break thing.
Well, and that's
And here you go, Eric. Just because you came through with, even though I misheard Steve, you get to see a hockey card. So there's your payoff.
well, and we used to watch a lot of series, and it just sometimes it gets, I don't want to say overwhelming, but it almost becomes like a burden. So like I never watched. I started watching like Sons much later on. It had already been on for a few seasons. So I think like at the time I started watching it, it was in the middle of like season 4, I think. So I went back and started watching from the beginning to catch up. And I stayed caught up all the way through season 6. And it's one that's always been in the back of my mind, like, okay, I really enjoyed this. I want to see how it ends, but I can't pick up after years.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to go back and start from the beginning.
Well, yeah, if it's 8-10 years, you're like, man, I remember, again, like you said, you're like, oh crap, I remember some of this stuff, but
Yeah, bits and pieces.
but yeah, if it's been that long, how many other things have been watched? Movies,
Yep.
sitcoms, whatever the case, sports card breaking content.
But see,
how much stuff is pushed out, and
I also still watch, like, I watch Chicago PD and Chicago Fire.
okay,
And like today's what, the 12th?
Yep.
So last week were new episodes for the new season, but since I canceled cable, of course, I can't go and watch it on the DVR. I'll have to go watch it on Paramount Plus at some point and get caught back up. Because I've been hyper focused on Sons of Anarchy. So it's like everything else is almost non existent. But I have Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. I still watch NCIS. And believe it or not, there's a lot of early episodes that I haven't seen. And at some point, I'm going to go back and start watching that from the beginning. The nice thing about it is like a lot of the stuff in the beginning, yeah, you got some historical sort of reference points when you get flashbacks and newer episodes and stuff. But I've seen enough older episodes between multiple seasons to know who some of these people are and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't impacted like how shit is working and going now. But outside of that, like I force myself to not like get involved in too many other shows because like it's like, oh shit, yeah, well then the new episode for such and such, yeah, I can't do this, I can't do that, and
Well,
that's how it used to be.
Like Lost is on. I can't fucking. Lost is on to me. If I miss an episode, I don't know what the hell's going on. I remember in high school, like the girls were always like, oh, "We gotta watch Ally McBeal," and like, or Friends or fucking Seinfeld for some of the guys. I'm like, just give me some Mystery Science Theater and I'm good. I don't need to. And give me my Sports Center, then give me my baseball tonight because that's when they used to have the home runs at the end, and then give me NFL primetime. That's really what I needed. And I sit there and I can watch Home Improvement. I can watch Fresh Prince. Trying to think whatever. Even like the late '90s, there wasn't like a ton that was like, oh, X-Files. There was like 3 or 4 people that are like, I need to watch the X-Files. I'm like, you watch the X-Files. I'm gonna watch the first hour of Nitro. Then I'm gonna watch Raw, and then I'm gonna watch Nitro again. They had the replay on. So,
Well, the big one for us used to be Grey's Anatomy.
yeah,
more chick related.
Yep.
No offense, but you know it's one of those in which you kind of you do what you got to do, and like Grey's Anatomy is not bad. It's not, but it's
You're not gonna convince me that it isn't awful.
well, and to each their own. It's geared towards female emotions because it's a lot of relationship and that type of drama. But if you look past that from like the medical aspect and some of the operations and you know the life-saving stuff, like
that's why they made House.
See, and I didn't like House.
House is amazing.
Your opinion.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Your opinion too.
Yeah, I'm the right one.
Absolutely.
That's not how opinions work.
I'm aware.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's why everybody has the right to their opinion. I never could get into it.
I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times through.
And part of that has to do with the guy who played House. Like, I wasn't a fan of his.
I love Hugh Laurie.
And when you're not a huge fan of the main actor, it kind of screws up your feeling of the show.
Did you watch the Night Manager, Vinny? I think that's what it was called. With him and Tom Hiddleston, I believe. Let me see if I can find it.
But there's a lot of shows that a lot of people like that.
No, I have not watched that.
It is awesome, and you should watch it.
And I like Tom Hiddleston. He's a pretty good actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should check that one out. It's very much worth a watch. The Night Manager, that's what it was. And it was unfortunate that it was only 6 episodes.
Obviously, somebody didn't like it, or it was it was written for that amount.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was written to be a one deal.
The Night Manager season 2 is officially happening. 8 years after the phenomenal series debuted on the BBC, Tom Hiddleston is set to reprise his role.
Hell
We
yes.
could not be more excited.
That makes me very happy. It's one of the higher rated shows on IMDb. It's an 8.0.
Yes, it is. See, I like all. I wish I could watch more TV, but by the time I'm done, it just aggravates the snot out of me that I don't. But
Yeah.
hopefully that'll change here soon. Better than half, and when I moved here, I was at NCIS every Tuesday night religiously, would not miss it. And then after a while, once Ziva left, I think I kind of just.
Yeah, I feel like that's when I quit watching it too.
Yeah, and I love that show. I loved the cast. I loved everything about that show.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was a good one. And I liked Las Vegas. I used to watch that with my grandma every Friday night. I think it was on with James Caan and
Dick Tracy.
That's a good looking die cut.
John Cougar Mellencamp.
That's a rookie card too, isn't it? Oh, very nice.
What did
Is that
I
a
just
Game Gear?
That is not a Game Gear. But Bryce Young and CJ in the same.
I think it was a Fractal Matrix Z-axis die cut.
Lenticular foil.
Yeah.
Retracted. No, I'm in the boat of when I get home, and I've said it before, I really don't want to put the old thinking cap on.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of it isn't thinking, but there's a lot of the stuff too. It's long-term storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, if you don't watch from the beginning and you watch close enough, I mean, it can't be on, like, I got wrestling. I don't have to, I've watched all this shit. It's just something that's on. But if you don't watch some of this shit and like, oh man, this is like some character that's a passing through person that comes up in like season 5 because it holds some sort of value and you're going back to it. You're sitting there like, well, who the fuck is this schlub that people are all jonesing about? I'm like, oh, what? Oh, what does this tie into the storyline? Where the fuck did I miss this? And if you're watching with friends or you've got a group of like coworkers or whatever the case may be that you commiserate over these sitcoms and whatnot, it's like, don't remember from this and like 2, 4, 5 seasons ago that person came in and did this. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So then, yeah, no. I'm not big on it. I if I get hooked into something, yes. But otherwise, it's okay. Give me car crash videos, give me tornado videos, give me shit that I already fucking seen 8 million times. I'd rather watch the same tornado videos out of Tuscaloosa from 2011 that I know are 5 or 6 hours and the James Span's on there for 8. I'll watch that. I know what's going to happen. stuff I absolutely don't need to know. I don't need to know the geography of fucking Alabama. I never will.
Yep.
But it's something I don't mind watching because you just sit there and you look. Say, okay. You get
I
some
watch-
really good information, and there's tornadoes. Cool.
Yeah, most of the time when I get home from work, I get out of my work clothes and I come in and I sit in this chair. I don't turn on my TV that's in front of me. I actually, I take that back. I have lately been turning on the TV and turning on YouTube, and I watch a lot of ASMR stuff. Or I'll go back and watch a bunch of box breaking videos that I've seen 100 times, but I enjoy watching them. They're in my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I spend most of my nights. I don't watch a whole lot of television shows during the week because I just don't. I want to come home, same thing, and just shut off until I go to bed and then get up and go to work.
Yeah, if I turn on football, it's just watching. Most of the time, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Even if it's the Chargers, I'm not sitting there and going berserk and paying attention. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I got to check to see if the Bears-Packers game this Sunday is going to be on Hulu so I can watch it, or if I'm going to have to go watch one of the illegal streams.
Paul Skeen's number 2.
Very nice.
I've got the 3 main ones. Well, there's the other holiday. I pulled the other holiday earlier.
The rookie debut.
Yep, and the same.
You're pulling all the great players. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Can't complain. I also got my Evan Carter. Or I should say one of the Evan Carter.
I hope he has a bounce back year. This year was rough for him.
Yeah, that injury just
It was a back injury, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's just brutal for an athlete.
Yep. So I'm hoping. I mean, he showed some progress as it pertains to like getting better as the year progressed.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I had him. He sat on my bench or on my injured list most of the year. It was frustrating. I had a lot of good players just hurt this year.
Yep. Oops, hit the wrong button. There's the 2 holidays.
That's nice.
So Skeens times 2, both holidays.
And both Merrills?
Both Merrills. Not too shabby out of 2 freaking
Fat packs.
hanger.
Those paid for both of them.
Yep. And that's all. I mean, that's all I was hoping for because, like, the hangers and the fat packs and that type of stuff, outside of the Prism basketball, which I did open a couple, but like I opened this stuff in hopes to be able to get the main guys I'm chasing.
Mm-hmm.
Because those will go in penny sleeves and top loaders and in the box of all the other fucking rookies and shit that I just have setting aside. So
Did you sell that red, white, and blue Wemby?
I still have it.
Still have it?
No, actually I want to get it graded because it goes from last I checked, and please don't anybody hold me to this because it's been a few weeks when I checked this.
Mm-hmm.
But raw was like anywhere between like 120 and 160. Rated a 10, like between 750 and $1,000.
Holy hell.
Now, again, and that was prior to the season starting.
I was going to say, the season has started and he has been very good.
So I haven't bothered to check any recent type stuff, but I want to get it graded and hope, of course, for a 10.
But
and then I'll probably leverage JT if I can, put it on consignment.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy the video game numbers that Jokic is putting up. I mean, it's absurd. He just keeps putting up. They're like 35, 18, and 15 triple doubles.
Yep.
It just doesn't make any sense.
And yet they were losing all those games though too.
Yeah, he's so good.
Which was crazy. Like they had lost 6, 7, 8 in a row or some shit.
Really?
Something like that. Because I was sitting at Sport Clips sitting in the lobby waiting to get my haircut.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, of course, running the stats and shit at the bottom of the screen on Friday. And they had won, but it had stated that it snapped a 6 or 7 game losing streak or some shit.
Wow. And then there's the Cleveland Cavs. Ooh, they haven't lost yet.
No.
Or is it the Jazz that I think are like, they had only won 1 game or some shit as of, and this was, Friday. I mean, it's been a few days.
Yeah, I don't know who they had beaten, but yeah, it was when you teams scoring like 135 and it's like every Jazz box scores between 85 and 94, you're like,
oof. Who's their best player? Is it Markkanen? Isn't he injured?
He was hurt for a while because I know I had him in one of my fantasy leagues. You got Colin Sexton, Keontae George, and then John Collins, the old Hawks forward. And that's, right now, that's your main guys because they had Hendricks, they drafted, I think, from Central Florida last year.
I know that the injury bug has hit tons of stars so far this year.
Fucking insane.
Especially in the last week.
My God, it's like snipers everywhere. Yeah. Chet Holmgren's down. Zion again is down.
Durant went down. Ja Morant.
I mean, yeah, you're not just, okay, these are some serviceable guys. This is like, man, John Paxson went down. It's like, no, these are fucking your stars. People are paying big money to see, and fuck, it's every day. I'm like, God, check the trade rumors. Please, none of my guys be going down because I have, I think, 1 or 2 lineups that has like 3 people out, and I can't drop anyone. It's like, well, these guys are good, and it's not like they're out for the year.
Yep.
So if you're out for like 2-3 weeks,
yeah, Chet's going to be out for a minute because he fractured his pelvis.
And that's where you wish the guy would somehow put on like 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Him and Wemby, I just worry about them blowing away in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, if you get some big beef eater in the middle, you run into them, you're gonna look like a fucking cartoon.
And then there's
body goes on.
The embarrassment that is Joel Embiid.
Oh my God!
Who still hasn't played. I think he was supposed to make his debut tonight, season debut tonight. That guy is pathetic. He's no better than how Ben Simmons has been.
No, and even Simmons has played this year.
Yeah, and
I get where, if I'm the Nets, A, we're not going to do anything, but B, at some point we got to get some return on our investment. That I don't care if you're sitting out back-to-backs of doubleheaders, because you haven't been on the fucking court, it seems like, in a decade.
And you know what the craziest thing is that there's all this. The NBA were so shocked that he turned out this way. And it's almost as if maybe nobody did watch it, but if you watched the documentary on him when he was at LSU, it was one that he was running the documentary. He had cameras following him around at LSU, And if you watch that documentary, it was on Showtime. If you watch that, you could tell he was super immature and he was not a tough guy at all. So whenever he got to the NBA and his career's been the way it is, I'm like, yeah, if you watched it, all the warning signs were there.
Yeah, this isn't any new thing, any surprise, and
No, he was a big time mama's boy. It was bad.
and with these salaries these guys are getting too.
And it's all guaranteed.
Yep.
Basketball and baseball are. It's interesting how they've managed to make that a thing. But they're guaranteed contracts.
The only difference, baseball really doesn't have a salary cap.
No, they just kind of have some deterrence of a luxury tax thing. It's like
luxury tax.
It's like, wait a minute, how many billions of dollars am I worth? Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
The deterrent is not enough in order to deter teams from being over the threshold and paying that luxury tax.
Yeah, that's why you got the Dodgers. The Dodgers are talking about adding Soto.
Yeah. It's like,
And they can because of all the deferred money from Ohtani.
Yep.
I think they're thinking most thinking is that he's going to wind up with the Mets, and I think that's a mistake. I think this year was kind of an aberration for the Mets. They just caught fire and made it into the World Series and everything, but I don't think they're built to win.
no, Lindor had a healthy year, which is the first time in a number of years.
Yeah.
Polar Bear's probably gone.
Yep.
He hasn't accepted any of their offers the last couple of years.
I think he winds up on the other New York team.
It's either there or
surprise me.
Washington. I've seen the Nationals.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's a nice little stack of talent there, too. So if you want to be that veteran and really be loved, that'd be the place to go. And guess what? You're still in a medium market. I don't know. I just, you look at the pitching. Mets have nothing.
None.
I mean, I wouldn't, that's like, it's the Mets like 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. Let's get Verlander. Let's get Scherzer. Let's get all these guys that are at the end of the rope. Again, I'm no bigger Verlander guy out there than I am, and it's like I wouldn't.
And same with Mad Max. Scherzer's one of my favorite baseball players ever.
And not right now. Not
Well,
No.
seemed like the Mets were giving up though back when they got rid of Scherzer and let DeGrom go though too.
Yeah.
So, like you said, like who do they have in the starting rotation?
I don't even know who. I couldn't even name one.
Sean Manaea's one, but he's a free agent too.
He's a free agent as well. Yeah, that's right. Manaea is there.
They caught fire at the right time,
They did.
which it's
Perfect storm.
as a fan, like that's kind of what you hope for. You make it into the postseason, you hope for a deep run, and sometimes you fall short. Like
And the Braves somehow forgot how to hit.
But that's
so did the Phillies.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ed.
but with
not all of Philadelphia, but like
most
part of their lineup, just like
that bottom part was fucking a black hole.
It was atrocious.
Terrible.
But for Mets, I think because it was that last day of the year, it was just them. That doubleheader against Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched, I think, that first game. And it was in Spanish, but I'm like, okay, winner's in. And then if Atlanta wins the second game, they're in, or it was somebody else that was going in. Like Atlanta to even be in that position at the beginning of the year, you're like, That ain't gonna happen. You got Strider and Acuna and all these guys, and then those two go out. Albies is out for a couple months at least. I mean, you just everybody that hit the year before 180, like Orlando Arcia, All Star the year before. This year, back to regular Orlando Arcia.
Yep. Yeah, baseball was interesting this year, to say the least. And I didn't watch a ton of it. One, because I couldn't watch the Rangers because of the whole Valley thing.
Yeah.
Diamond Sports.
But it's one of those in which it's like, okay, I did watch quite a bit of the World Series. I do that every year regardless, just because it's the World Series. And I'm not a Dodgers fan. I was rooting for the Dodgers because I hate the Yankees, but I was rooting for the Dodgers because of Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
I could give two shits. Now, granted, like I like Clayton Kershaw only because he's a Texas boy, as in like from Texas. So like there's the local link there. He didn't do shit because he was hurt, but I was rooting for the Dodgers because of Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, and I like Mookie Betts.
I like Mookie's like I like him too, but it's what like you cannot dislike Freddie Freeman.
No.
Like you can't. And a part of me was glad that Ohtani got his first championship. Such a freaking great all-around ball player, and he made the Angels potentially okay, but one player can't do it for a team.
Oh, and he got out, and Trout still can't.
Yep. Well, and like when Trout was healthy, the Angels were always in contention in the division.
But
the minute Trout got hurt, they would tank.
Which was unfortunate. It's been every year for about a decade.
Correct. But the same thing. You look at when Ohtani would get hurt. The same, like it was the same thing.
Yeah. I want to see Trout out of there. And truly, I want to see him go to Philly. I think
that's a
I
team.
think he would do better anywhere, though.
Any team except for the Angels or the A's, he's going to be better.
Or the Twins, because they've got the same injury problems with all their players too. So
yeah,
that's
what happens when you give Carlos Correa money. That guy's beyond unlikable.
They rely too much when all the weight of the franchise sits on one player's shoulders. It seems that's how you get injury prone.
Yeah,
like because you're trying to do too much because you want to win, and like you can't take that away from Trout. Like the guy wants to play, he wants to win. And he's going to do everything he can in order to help his team win. The problem is he does too much, and then of course he gets fucking hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
he needs to be on a team that has a better surrounding cast that it's not all on his shoulders. And there's a lot of teams out there in which he would fit in order to make that work.
He needs to come Kansas City and hit behind Bobby Witt. That would make me very happy.
He could go to Texas and hit behind fucking Corey Seager. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's just he needs to get out of where he is.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, like I'm not going to say he's great. He's a good ball player. He is a good ball player. He's a good leader. But his team doesn't help the cause. And
Rendon doesn't even like playing baseball.
No,
Well, yeah, he freaking like wrote it in. I just think
He's
There's
Ben
a
Simmons'
lot-
hero.
there's a lot of Mike Trout that nobody's been able to see because of where he's been.
Yeah.
My own personal opinion. Others would probably disagree, Carlos. Bye,
No.
bye, Vinny.
No, when you get to the West Coast, we've said that before too, and there are a lot of media. If you're not winning on the West Coast, you're not known on the West Coast. And even if you're Mike Trout, it's not like the Angels are going to be on every week because their starting pitching sucked for how long? Jared Weaver's probably the last like real stud. You lose Aiden Hart after his like debut. You're just a snake bit franchise.
Yep.
You haven't been able to do a lot, and there's been pieces there, and it's just that Artie Marino's not done much, or he hasn't signed people at.
And the ones he does sign are bad.
You're overpaying
Just
for
doesn't.
mediocrity every time.
Yep.
Yep.
And we all know, like, you don't have to be the Yankees or the Dodgers from a spending perspective in order to be good.
You have to make the correct moves for your team, and it seems like you're going through a manager every year and a half, 2 years. You're hiring the wrong guys. Phil Nevin out there. I'm like, I love Phil Nevin as a player, even though he's too immature in the minors to play like a all-star game. It's like that was a big prospect of our childhood. So again, that you're gonna think of that guy in the that type of light, but it's like as a manager, it's always you come in and you're like, okay, here's like a different way of doing things. And just like John Tortorella now he's with the Flyers, but he's been around in NHL forever, and he just wears out a welcome quick because you can't be a fucking hard ass all the time. These guys are getting paid way too much. I mean, you don't have to be a pushover, but at the same time, it's always one of those things. Pick your battles.
Yeah.
Right.
But and if you're just being a fucking barker all the time, I don't give a fuck. I'm getting paid more than you've seen in your life, Bill Nevin.
Which is why Urban Meyer didn't work out in Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
I mean,
but-
I mean, and going back to baseball though, I look at Texas. You know, a lot of people say their world championship was a fluke. Well, whatever. Say
Don't
what you
matter.
want.
You got there and you won it.
yeah,
And they didn't cheat, Houston.
Yeah.
Even though there's a few Houston players that, you know, oh well, they must have cheated. No, I call bullshit. Did they play like shit this year? Yes, but they were decimated by
Mhm.
big time injuries. Big time injuries.
Yeah.
And you know, not just in the field, in the bullpen started like they
Everything went bad.
And you know, but it goes to show you if you spend money and you spend money right, you don't have to have a plethora of superstars in order to win championships.
No. And with Texas, you do have the big name stars, the big money guys, but you also developed some really good bats that came up through
100%.
your system.
Yep.
And back to the Angels, when was the last bat they developed that wasn't Mike Trout? There's nobody. Not
I
one.
couldn't tell you.
There's not one. And there's not an arm either.
no, because again, it's like I said, Aiden Hart, but then he dies right after because some drunk driver. So you don't know how that's going to play out. Like Howie Kendrick, and then Jared Weaver. But you got Noah. Is it Noah? Nathan? That Shawna that came in first round pick 2 years ago. Pretty much came to the majors like Olerud right away. Just a fucking phenomenal hitter in college, and he's batting like 240 in the majors.
Joe
You have-
Adele couldn't get it figured out.
Super prospect. Fucking just people are.
He was
She
the
doesn't-
number one prospect.
Can you imagine Trout and Adele out there? Oh my God, it's going to be just fuck. And then you sign Ohtani. Oh my God, yeah. And then Adele just 215. Again, he did a little better this year, but you're still batting fucking like Adam Dunn, worse than Adam Dunn did in Adam Dunn's best years. And those were great batting average years. The three probable outcomes. It's like you haven't done anything. Your catching's been shit. Zach Neto, that's probably the best they've had, and that's if that's saying something, that's not a real good indication of how they can, what their talent evaluators are, and how they're teaching these kids. Because man, you're just Mickey Moniak did well when he first came over from Philly as a former number one pick, but then he regressed back into like old habits and old times, and like you're not getting any 300 batters. I don't know the last 300 batter there wasn't an Ohtani or a Trout for them, and it's probably Kendrick. That's probably the last one.
Yeah. You mentioned Adam Dunn. Did you ever watch Tim Kirkjian talk about Adam Dunn? He goes through a whole. Adam Dunn is Tim Kirkjian's favorite baseball player ever, and it's super fun and entertaining to listen to him talk about Adam Dunn's statistics. They're just so off the wall.
I haven't heard it, but I'm like, I love Kirkjian's awesome to listen to.
He is. I love that dude.
That's another one that you can tell loves the sport he's talking about. It's not just like going through the motions, like you said earlier, Anthony Rendon, who's just going through the motions.
Who literally said that baseball really wasn't that important to him. He doesn't really like to play.
And it shows because
And I'm sure the owner that has to write that $35 million check every year is going, yeah, that's nice.
Be like, I'm glad you said it now because I figured it out 2 years ago.
Yeah. So strange because he was so good in Washington. It's just so odd.
Yeah, you replace basically, again, if not a actual legend, for us, again, somebody that we watched a ton.
Zimmerman.
If not a regional legend because he played at Virginia and then he went to the Nationals, Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Like Z-Pac's there, and it's like, holy crap, this guy is like the baby Brooks Robinson.
Yeah.
Getting some down ballot votes for MVP. Fucking vacuum for a glove at third. Big moments.
And he was a great story coming out of UConn after he snapped his leg.
Yep.
I mean, and for him to come back and become a massive prospect, come up through the ranks and be a stud. It was a good story. And that is all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. It was UConn where he played, wasn't it?
Rendon?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So
I think he played there. That's where Springer played too, I think.
Yep. Yeah, because it wasn't like a traditional like baseball powerhouse.
No.
Or in a baseball powerhouse region.
Yeah.
That Northeast isn't exactly churning out. I mean, they're churning out top-tier talent, but it's not like you go to Florida, Georgia, Carolina, Texas.
Well, it's why the Trout thing was so crazy is nobody went up to scout him because he wasn't playing good competition. And it was just cold weather. Nobody thought that there was anything up there.
Well, there isn't. It's New Jersey, so
yeah. There's just him.
And then if he's playing by the Jersey Shore, it's like I don't want to have some gym tan laundry. So I'm like, nah, I don't.
Yeah.
I need to get out of your situation. That's the situation.
So I would just like to say I misspoke on the red, white, and blue. So lately, raw kind of between $70 and $110. So I wasn't too far off on
Still
that.
good.
Yeah.
PSA 10s are just south of $400. So there were some sales earlier in like September of like 700 and some change.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be one of those hit and miss, which is why like I'll still pay to get it graded. Hopefully it comes back at 10. If I do it on consignment, he can keep it for an extended period of time until he can get what I feel is a decent number for it anyways.
Yeah.
I'm not in a hurry to sell it.
No, I would get it graded, throw it in the box, and let it sit there and just see how the season progresses. Because if he stays healthy and continues to improve, I mean, you're talking award seasons.
Yeah, because like his last 2 games, he's averaged like almost 30 points. He's pretty much averaging a double-double for the season.
And he
19.7 points per game and just north of like 10.5 rebounds per game so far this season.
Yeah, and I think his last game he was either 4 for 4 or 6 for 6 from 3.
I didn't check the 3-point percentage, but like he's definitely been raking in the threes though too.
Yep. And with the blocks.
Yeah, there was one game he had like 9 fucking blocks, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, he would have had a cool triple-double without assists.
Yeah, so like I know a lot of people were, and I know Vinny's not here to defend himself, but like early on last year, he wasn't sold on him. I'm like, dude, like seriously, like go check the stat lines. Like the kid is the real fucking deal.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, if he stays healthy, he's going to put Tim Duncan to shame. And that says something.
He's going to put a lot of players to shame. His stat line, his box scores are going to be huge. And
I love Tim Duncan. Like I played in San Antonio his whole career. Like I'm in Texas, so of course, if I can't root for Dallas, I would root for San Antonio, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And like Tim Duncan is just one of those. How can you not like Tim Duncan? He's another one of those type of guys. But to sit there and watch. Now, I haven't watched like NBA games, but I watched Wemby in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those in which it's like, holy shit. Like this kid is fucking for real. And he is going to freaking, if he stays healthy and has the length of career of Tim Duncan, he's going to put his numbers to shame.
Yep.
And that's crazy to me.
The last time I really watched NBA games and like actually tuned in during the regular season, not just playoffs, it was back when Russell Westbrook was putting up the triple doubles, trying to average it first. It was the first year of that because Russell Westbrook was my favorite to watch because I just didn't. He was so aggressive, and to me, he was the most athletic player in the entire league. I mean, his vertical was absolute insanity.
Well, he almost couldn't do no wrong during that run too.
No,
like
he averaged what, a triple double? Did he do it 3 times?
Don't give me the line.
I know he did it back-to-back seasons, but I feel like he did it 3 times.
Yeah, and I don't think he gets the credit he needs to be getting because that.
No.
It's Russell Westbrook. It's like no, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is.
No, He's been my favorite player since Garnett.
Yeah.
And he seems just like a real good dude. He's a tad weird, but I think he's just a really good guy. His interaction with fans and kids is really good.
Yeah. And see that, at least from my perspective, that's what I really think about when it comes to pro athletes.
Yep.
Like, if you want to be all hood and everything else and in your interviews and that type of shit, okay, probably not a huge fan of yours. But if you're cool with like your fans and kids and interacting and getting pictures and, making those memories,
yeah,
I could give two shits what you say in an interview. You know what I mean?
I've been really lucky in that aspect of being a Packers fan, because most recent times with Cobb and Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, all those guys are that way. Mm-hmm. They're incredible with the fans and the kids. And Jamal Williams, his interaction with kids is so great. He is awesome. That guy is wild. And that's why, I have cards of those guys in my collection, even though really they haven't done anything all that memorable in their careers. Cobb never won a championship. He has some really cool moments of killing the Bears. And then the Hail Mary at the halftime in the playoff game against the Giants. But those things aren't going to show up on a stat, his career stats. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. But Aaron Jones, with him, I related so much when found out both of his parents were in the armed forces. That was huge. And that's the amount of respect that he had was how he was raised. And that's why I got attached to him and hated to see him leave and go to Minnesota. And he is having a hell of a season up there too.
But I'm like you, though. It's not always about numbers and stats and championships and what a player brings to a team. It's the outside shit.
Yep.
And I'm speaking for myself from an opinion perspective. I feel like a lot of leagues don't put enough emphasis on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's more important. Yes, during the award season, you get the Walter Payton Award. Yes, they bring that up as far as, all the team nominees and things, which is huge honors and stuff. I get all that. But, like, why is it only a focal point when it gets close to award season? No. More and more teams and the leagues need to put more emphasis on that type of stuff, because unless you're, I don't want to say involved with your team from like the entire time frame of preseason and training camp all the way through the season, and you really follow that stuff in the local media, most people don't know about it.
Yeah, and that's because we know it's going on with every organization. They're all doing this stuff.
Absolutely.
But the league isn't promoting it. No. Until, like you said, it's award season time, and it's time to give out the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Yeah,
that's when you hear about it. Whereas
it's wrong.
You're frozen on my screen.
Oh.
But
am I back yet?
You're back now. You were spinning.
Oh, it's wrong. It is fucking wrong. And this is all professional sports leagues.
Yeah. I follow the Packers social media on both Instagram and on Facebook. and they promote that stuff all the time.
I see it. I see it on Instagram too because I follow the Broncos.
Yeah, and it's weekly, and it's like, man, why doesn't the NFL share this stuff?
And that's why I don't understand. Like, and I consider myself more a casual NFL fan nowadays than what I have in past years
Mhm.
because it's not the same game that I used to love. A lot of it's the officiating. A lot of and I don't want to say it's player safety because I think it's very important. So I'm not trying to take away from like the focal point of really trying to protect players, but they've taken some of it to the extreme. And when you get ticky tack penalties of like basically a tap on a quarterback, and you're calling, roughing the passer, like, give me a fucking break. I get player safety, but give me a fucking break.
Yep.
It's just not the same game. And I'm speaking for myself. When you watch games and that's what you focus on of the bullshit, the missed calls, the kind of ticky-tacky, the BS calls, the missed calls, that type of stuff, it takes away from the enjoyment of the game. So for me, bring in more of the feel-good shit. Keep me intrigued on what some of the teams, the organizations, the players are doing, the interactions, the charitable causes, the donations, the donated time for bring that more to the forefront. Don't just wait until it gets close to the end of the year and it's award season.
Or like October, breast cancer month. You saw a lot of stuff with Veterans Day this weekend. Show it all year. Show what they're doing for the kids in like the children's hospital, the disadvantaged kids, veterans,
disaster relief,
donations
to the Red Cross. Don't just mention a random blurb in a fucking telecast.
No, highlight it every week. Have a segment.
Yeah, promote the shit out of it.
Yep.
Because
the Packers have guys visiting the children's hospitals on a weekly basis. It's like I said, I'm sure it's like that for all 32 NFL teams, but unless the only people that see it are the ones who follow those teams,
which is only informing the individuals that follow their teams.
Yeah.
It needs to be promoted by the leagues.
Yep.
Not that it's going to create a larger fan base or anything along those lines, but it is. No, but it brings out the positive.
Yeah. It'll make you feel better when your team's 2-8.
Yep.
I mean.
Yeah, and you don't want to. You hope it's not the same people over and over again because it's like, well, okay, now I've already had a preconceived notion of so and so being a jackass, and okay, we're 3 months into almost like a Hard Knocks, but something where it isn't just about that. It's like just doing good. Call it doing good, and be like, this is what we're gonna show.
Yep.
Because where was it? Fuck. I don't know where the fuck I saw it. Instagram. Peyton Pritchard for the Celtics was like shooting with some kid in like a New York like playground. He just had his hoodie on. He's just out there shooting with the kid. And it's just like stuff like that where I'd rather have it for that too. I don't need to have this like as a production.
Right.
I don't need to have this as like 6 cameras and 2 reporters and like 3 beat writers or whatever the fuck. I want somebody doing this on their own accord.
Yep.
And like helping somebody.
Just because they want to.
The only reason we even know about it is because somebody was walking by and turned on their camera phone.
Yep. That's how I want to know stuff, and not like a plant that's doing that. I want to see it because I'm going to the store. I'm like, hey, I just watched the Knicks Celtics game the other day. Man, that fucking looks like Peyton Pritchard. I'm going to record this. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, and be like, and then just title it as such. But at the same time, that's what I want to see instead of you always have to have the spotlight on you because you always have the spotlight on you and it's Sunday. Like, no, I don't. I want the true human interaction
Mhm.
instead of a forced human interaction. That's
Yeah.
that's what
Well,
people.
and the memories it creates and the future NBA, NFL, like, you have those sort of interactions and, these players, these superstars talk to some of these kids and motivate them, and that leaves a lasting impression. Maybe they make it, maybe they don't, but at least they're given that additional bit of conversation and motivation that, hey, I'm growing up the same way that this player did. Like, I have a chance. Like, I don't want to give up hope. I just got to keep pushing and driving. And, that you can't put a price on that, man, at all.
We've said that too. Any of those interactions, it just if you have a positive interaction with somebody, it doesn't even have to be okay. Lamar Jackson's come out. He doesn't say much, but then here's Rashad Bateman, here's Ronnie Stanley, here's Kyle Hamilton. They start talking to you for even a minute. You're like,
Yep.
just show you some love, and then it's like, holy fuck, that was awesome. I'm gonna be a fan of this team.
Yeah.
I want Christmas. I want to get this stuff. I will get when I get a job. I want to get gear. You buy into that, or you follow these people then,
Yep.
because they showed you the time. It doesn't have to be a fucking like Mike Wallace 60 Minutes situation where you just sit down interview, but don't just like brush people off where you can see. Now, I know a lot of the kids with the asking. I'm not a big fan of like, can I have your cleats? Can I have your shoes?
Yeah.
You need to check yourself. Just
Going.
hey, good game. Or if you lose, hey man, you tried. You're not going to win them all, but you could tell you tried out there. Something. And again, as plain and simple as that is, I think if a player heard that instead of can I have, it's like
Yeah.
not a fucking vending machine.
Right. Did you see the video of Wemby from this weekend?
Mm-mm.
No.
A little kid was wearing a Wemby jersey, and after the game, after he had done his interviews and everything, this kid went out onto the court trying to get his attention, holding up a marker so he would sign his jersey. And Wemby turned around, saw it, and leaned down and was getting ready to grab the pen and sign it. Stopped, took off his jersey, and gave it to him.
Yeah,
that little kid's going to remember that forever. I would say the kid was couldn't have been more than 5 years old. So,
well, and again, it's still one of those in which trying to find that happy medium from an athlete perspective of the interactions and what you do and what you don't do and things like, I would hate to be put in that spotlight because it's one of those in which you do X amount for so many people, but it's the one time that you don't, or you have a bad interaction, whatever it is that, it's just, how do you manage that?
Yeah. And
because even for us as grown adults, we still are fans of the athletes, the teams, and everything else. And this is going to sound wrong of me, but we are almost as deserving to have the same sort of interactions because we're the ones paying the money, not just for going to the games or buying the memorabilia, the jerseys, whatever. We're the ones spending the money for us and our kids in that situation to go have those experiences. But, not saying that we're entitled to anything. I'm not saying this is an entitlement.
Right.
But it's one of those in which it's like, you can't forget about us grown ass people too.
I would hope to have a good interaction. I'm never going to ask an athlete for their autograph. I'm not going to do it because, especially if I'm around and there's a bunch of kids around. I'm 41 years old. I'm not asking the 28-year-old rookie or star quarterback for an autograph. I'm just not. I'm not going to do that. I will pay to if I want something signed. I will go to the signing or something like that and get it signed that way. And then you can have your interaction there.
And that's fair.
But yeah, I'm not going to hang out outside the visitors exit where they go and get on the bus to go to the airport. I'm not going to hang out there with a photo trying to get an autograph because I just think it's gross.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. Like when I got Deion Sanders' autograph, he came into the subway that I happened to be at the time, and I actually waited to ask for an autograph after he had already placed his order and I just if it's not too much trouble, I'd love to get your autograph, type situation. And he kind of looked at me. He had already signed one for the other lady that was there. But, at the time, I was a huge Deion fan.
Mm-hmm.
I collected both, baseball and football related to Deion Sanders at the time still. So it was one of those in which it's if you need to run and you need to get out of here, I understand it's not a big deal, but if it's not too much trouble, I'd love to be able to get your autograph. And he's like, no, not a problem. So he signed it on a Subway napkin, and I still have it. Deion Sanders' autograph on a fucking Subway napkin ain't worth shit.
But it's cool to you.
But it was the fact that, having interactions while waiting on him, while making his sandwiches, and then being able to get an autograph, that's something that I'll always remember.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be at that store that day. It was a random thing.
Yeah.
So those are the cool type moments. My buddy, and I'm pretty sure I've told this story, but my buddy and his uncle went to the Fort Worth Brahmas game, which is minor league hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple H happened to be there signing autographs. It was a promotion, everybody knew he was there. It's when he was actually the champion at that point in time. I was stuck working. This is still when I worked at Subway. I sent my buddy with one of the WWE magazines that I wanted him to sign. And he signed it. And, my buddy told him, he's like, hey, my best friend wanted to be here. He's stuck working. I know there's only supposed to be one autograph per guest, but is there any chance that you can autograph this too for him? Because he really wanted to be here and meet you and could. He's like, sure, not a problem. And he signed it. He's like, I'll do one better. He's like, you want to come back over here and see if you can get a hold of your buddy? I'll talk to him. Well, my pager had fallen off. Yeah, this is back when I had a pager. My pager had fallen off of my work pants, and it was sitting in my car.
Oh.
So he was paging me to call him. And I, of course, found out later on. And I'm like, motherfucker. That fucking sucks.
Yeah. I'd rather you just didn't tell me.
Yeah.
And I almost told him that. I'm like, I almost wish you just wouldn't have fucking told me that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, but he let me stand back behind, over there with his people for 30 minutes.
Wow.
And once he was finished signing autographs, it was time for him to go. And my buddy was like, hey, I paged him. Obviously he's either really busy or something. He's like, no. He goes, I get it. Just make sure he knows that I would have taken a moment and talked to him based on what you had told me.
That's great.
So
Speaking of Triple H and back to that documentary, I couldn't help but watch, and anytime I saw him come on screen, I'm like, it's Jeff Bridges and Iron Man. It's Obadiah. That's Obadiah Stane. He looks just like him.
He's aged a few years.
Yeah.
Well, we are over the 2-hour mark. We touched on all sorts of shit. We talked football. We talked basketball. We talked baseball.
I talked
What?
wrestling.
Yeah, write that on. That was definitely not on anybody's bingo card.
No.
TV shows and such.
TV shows.
Yep.
All around good open-ended conversation. Varying opinions on things, but that's what makes for good conversation.
For sure.
So, Dave, wrap us up.
Thank you all for watching, joining in the conversation. Teams the rest of the year, we'll see. Again, a lot to be optimistic about.
Yes and no.
Some things to be very, I won't say pessimistic, but you're cautiously, you're hoping things turn around or whatever, but that's why they play the games. So
Denver should have beat Kansas City. Yeah. But one of our crappy linemen doesn't know how to keep on his feet.
Oh.
Yeah,
anyways.
That was ugly.
Yeah, that was it's even
let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Like what happened there? They were losing the whole game. I'm like, I don't even want to watch. So
the fact that Bo Nix outplayed Patrick Mahomes says something. So I'm going to reiterate that to everybody who swears like he's the next Tom Brady. I've said it for a long time. He is a good quarterback, but he is not as great as what everybody thinks he is.
No. He's the next Tom Hardy.
He's good. Actually, he's very good. But he is not deserving of the pedestal that people put him on. And this year has proven it.
Yeah.
But I digress.
And yet the fuckers are 9-0.
Oh.
And have not played one good game.
No.
Sadly, that's what's scary. Pacheco practiced today, so they got him coming back. This was the time to get him, and they somehow did not lose once.
Yep. Denver had it. Had it. Again, rookie quarterback Bo Nix outplayed Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Anyways. Sorry, Dave. Continue.
So, thank you to Rennie, who dropped off.
I'll fill you in.
Michael, Steve, I'm Dave. This has been the Instant Revolution podcast. Remember, collecting cards, absolutely wonderful hobby. The friendships you forge along the way, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.